Bhagavate Vasudevaya Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chev Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriya Nashtaprai Shuvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu. Text number 16 onwards. Shri Shukavacha Evam Shaktish Chitraketur Vimanad Avaruya Saha Prasadya Masa Sati Murdhana Namrena Bharata. Shri Shukdev Goswami continued. My dear King Parikshit, when Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati, he descended from his airplane, bowed before her with great humility, and pleased her completely. Chitraketuruvacha pratigranami te shapam atmanoanjalinambike devar martyaya ryatproktam purvadishtam hitasitat. Chitraketu said, my dear mother, with my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse, for happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of one's past deeds. So this is the humility of a devotee actually. He just accepted the curse. Since Chitraketu was a devotee of the Lord, he was not at all disturbed by the curse of Mother Parvati. He knew very well that when one suffers or enjoys the results of one's past deeds as ordained by Deva Netra, superior authority, or the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew that he had not committed any offense at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva or Goddess Parvati, yet he had been punished, and this means that the punishment has been ordained. Thus the king did not mind it. A devotee is naturally so humble and meek that he accepts any condition of life as a blessing from the Lord. So that is a perfection of devotion, that he accepts any condition of life as a blessing of the Lord. Tatyanukambam susamikshamana. A devotee always accepts punishment from anyone as a mercy of the Lord. If one lives in this conception of life, he sees whatever reverses occur to him to be due to his past misdeeds, and therefore he never accuses anyone. On the contrary, he becomes increasingly attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of his being purified by his suffering. Suffering, therefore, is also a process of purification. So how come suffering is the process of purification? So suffering is because of our past misdeeds, reactions of our past misdeeds. So those reactions we're going to have anyway, sometime or the other. So sooner it happens means then no more suffering. And when the suffering happens for a devotee, it gives him more opportunity to remember Krishna, to serve Krishna, to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, to take shelter of Krishna's holy name. So that's why also suffering means purification, and also suffering means past impious or sinful activities, reactions are gone, and now only pious activities are left. So pious reactions are left. So that is why whether the suffering comes by its own accord or by somebody cursing, or anyway somebody gives a suffering, or thirdly, if we voluntarily do some austerity. So that austerity is also voluntarily accepting some suffering, some hardship. So that also purifies one. So whatever austerity we can accept. Maybe fasting for half a day. It's not a big deal to fast until noon. It's a good austerity, it's good for the body also, and at the same time, it's an austerity. So it removes some of our past misdeeds, reactions, and any other austerity we can accept, especially this austerity. The Prabhupada follow the 4 regulative principles. It's a big austerity for some. Chant 16 rounds every day. So for when we are chanting 16 rounds, of course it is devotional service, but even if we consider as an austerity, at least for that hour and a half, we are not doing any other nonsense. We are engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord. So that also reduces our reactions. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this connection that one who has developed Krishna consciousness and who exists in love with Krishna is no longer subject to suffering and happiness under the laws of karma. Indeed, he is beyond karma. The Brahma Samhita says, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhaja. A devotee is free from the reactions of his karma because he has taken to devotional service. This same principle is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Sagunan Samtitiyeta. One who is engaged in devotional service has already been freed from the reactions of his material karma, and thus he immediately becomes Brahma Bhuta, or transcendental. This is also expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shihante Chasya Karmani. Before attaining the stage of love, one becomes free from all the results of karma. So yes, devotional service is so powerful that Brahma Samhita says, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhaja. By engaging in devotional service, all the reactions to past good or bad karmas, everything is burnt to ashes. Because the results of good or bad karma is we have to take part again to either enjoy or suffer the reactions of those karmas. So for a devotee, one who has taken up devotional service, his all karmas are gone. But again, depends on how purely we are engaged in devotional service. With what consciousness we are performing devotional service. Same service could be a pious activity, same service could be devotional service, depending upon our consciousness. For a devotee, Prabhupada says, the Lord is very kind and affectionate towards his devotees, and therefore a devotee in any condition is not subjected to the results of karma. A devotee never aspires for the heavenly planets. The heavenly planets, liberation and hell are non-different for a devotee, for it does not discriminate between different positions in the material world. A devotee is always eager to return home back to Godhead and remain there as the Lord's associate. The ambition becomes increasingly fervent in his heart, and therefore he does not care about material changes in his life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Maharaj Chitraketu's being cursed by Parvati should be considered the mercy of the Lord. The Lord wanted Chitraketu to return to Godhead as soon as possible, and therefore he terminated all the reactions of his past deeds. Acting through the heart of Parvati, the Lord who is situated in everyone's heart, cursed Chitraketu in order to end all his material reactions. Thus Chitraketu became Vritrasura in his next life and returned home back to Godhead. So for a devotee, when he is going through some not so favorable conditions, then he wants to take more and more shelter, surrender more to the lotus feet of the Lord. Now this is a very unique case actually. A devotee being cursed by Mother Parvati to become a demon, Vritrasura. And what kind of demon? He still remembered the lotus feet of the Lord, and he is, as we studied earlier, he was telling Indra, kill me. He was giving him all the opportunities to kill Vritrasura. And he says, I want to be killed so that I can go back to the lotus feet of Lord Sankarshan and associate with his devotees like Narad Muni. Now, Ravan and Kumbhakarna, they were also devotees, Jay and Vijay, but they did not say anything like this to Lord Ram or Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. They did not say like that to Nrsimhadev and Varahadev or Shishupal and Dantavakra. They didn't say that to Krishna. Vritrasura, it's a very special case in Bhagavatam. He's an Asura and he's asking Indra to kill him so that he can go back to Godhead. And another point to note here, that's why I had said in the beginning of this chapter, it's a very special chapter, many things to learn. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is clarifying everything. That Chitraketu was cursed by Mother Parvati because Lord acted through her heart so that Chitraketu can come back home sooner than later. In the process, he took the birth as a Vritrasura, as a demon, and a huge demon, very big demon. Now, and we all know how Vritrasura died. Indra threw his Vajra, which was made of the bones of Dadichi Rishi, and that Vajra went around his neck for 1 full year to cut off his neck and to kill Vritrasura. Now, it's not that every devotee who's dear to the Lord or who is going back to Godhead is going to leave the body while chanting and dancing and while worshipping the Lord, or in any way that we think is a devotional service. Again, we become judgmental. Vritrasura, who's Chitraketu Maharaj, a great devotee of the Lord, who has, as Chitraketu, he has taken darshan of Lord Ananta, and then he took the body of Vritrasura and they died. So we don't know when and how a devotee leaves the body if he is going back to Godhead or not. So we don't know. Many times we have seen devotees leaving bodies in car accidents, or last year when Bhakti Charu Maharaj left his body in America and because of COVID, and recently Pankaj Angri Prabhu left his body because of COVID. Now somebody can say, oh, they left their body because of this virus and not in a very good condition. We don't know anything, actually. We don't know anything. Gaur Govind Maharaj left his body in Mayapur Dham. Of course, he was very, very great, pious, pure soul. Because when he left his body, just before that, few devotees had approached him and then asked him some intimate questions about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that why Mahaprabhu left Navadvip and went to live in Jagannath Puri. What was the inner reason? The external reason is, yes, Mother Shachi Devi ordered him to go and live in Jagannath Puri. But what was the internal reason? And Gaur Govind Maharaj was explaining that. And those who have listened to his lectures, they know how ecstatic he would get while explaining the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath. And when he was in that ecstasy, after a while, he He just stopped and he asked his disciples and devotees there to start doing kirtan. And they all started kirtan, and in a while, Maharaj left his body. So, but that doesn't mean that all the devotees who are leaving their bodies, who have engaged their lives and their bodies and everything they have in the service of the Lord, that they don't have an auspicious or very, very perfect leaving the body. Here, look at Chitraketu and his next life, Vritrasura, and how he died. So again, let's not be judgmental. Let's not think that, oh, we know everything. We don't know anything actually. Whatever Krishna wants, that is going to happen. How he wants, that is going to happen. Wherever, howsoever, whenever he wants, that is how it's going to happen. It's simple as that. Nothing else is in our hands except to serve him. And let him decide, let him do whatever he wants. So all we have to do is appreciate and glorify, appreciate the services of devotees and glorify the devotees, how they are doing their services. And it is helpful if we glorify the devotees while they're still in the body. Text 18. Sansara chakra etasmin jantur jnana mohitaha brahmin sukham cha dukkham cha bhunkte sarvatra sarvata. Deluded by ignorance, a living entity wanders in the forest of this material world, enjoying the happiness and distress resulting from his past deeds, everywhere and at all times. Therefore, my dear mother, neither you nor I am to be blamed for this incident. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, the bewildered soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. Actually, a conditioned soul is completely under the control of material nature, wandering here and there, always and everywhere. He is subjected to the results of his past deeds. This is carried out by the laws of nature. But one foolishly thinks himself the doer, which in fact he is not. To get free from the karma chakra, the wheel of the results of one's karma, one should take to Bhakti Marga, devotional service of Krishna consciousness. That is the only remedy. Sarva dharman pariteja mam ekam sharanam vraja. So that sharanam vraja is devotion service. And according to the laws of nature, everything is being carried out, whether it is activities or whether the reactions we get, everything is taken care of by the laws of nature. Nevatmana parashapi karta syat sukha dukhayo kartaram manyate atragya atmanam paramevacha. In this material world, neither the living entity himself nor others, friends and enemies, are the cause of material happiness and distress. But because of gross ignorance, the living entity thinks that he and others are the cause. In this verse, the word agya is very significant. In the material world, all living entities are agya or ignorant in different degrees. This ignorance continues very strongly in the mode of ignorance presented by material nature. One must therefore promote himself to the stage of goodness through his character and behavior, and then gradually come to the transcendental platform or adhokshaja platform, in which he realizes both his position and the position of others. Everything is done under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The process by which the results of actions are ordained is called niyatam, always working. So this is what we were discussing yesterday, that we just don't know what is the absolute truth. We just know the relative truths. And this is what Prabhupada says, we all are in ignorance to whatever degree, as I say, is in different degrees. One must therefore promote himself to the stage of goodness through his character and behavior. So this is an active promotion. It's not passive that we think just by our chanting, which is inattentive chanting to begin with, we're gonna be automatically promoted to the level of goodness. Not gonna happen on its own. We have to work hard. And then Prabhupada said, then gradually come to the transcendental platform beyond the mode of goodness, or Adhokshaja platform, or Vasudev platform. So we have to bring ourselves to that level. And at that level, Prabhupada says, in which he realizes both his position and the position of others. Means the spiritual position. And then he realizes how everything and everybody is working under the direction of the laws of material nature, which ultimately is controlled by Krishna. He personally does not guide every living entity. He doesn't have to. His nature is there, his energies are there. And he himself doesn't even have to direct his energies. Just by his desire, all the energies are working. That is the meaning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't have to sit down and sign every paper and every order given to every energy. No. They all work under his direction. Just by his desire, the energies are ready to take care of everything. That is why it is said that he, of course, in Gita he says, Paritranaya sadhanam vinayashaya cha dushkritam. I come to kill the miscreants and protect my devotees. Not really. Acharya says, no way. Ravan, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Kansa, Kumbhakaran, they were not that powerful that Krishna's mere desiring to kill them and that his energies wouldn't have killed them. His energies would have just killed them. Even in Ramayana, Hanumanji was capable of enough killing Ravan and Kumbhakaran and all these Rakshasas. Ram didn't have to go to kill them. Ram went to kill them just to perform his pastime. So even 2 million years later, we can still talk about how Lord Ram killed them and how Lord Ram protected his devotees, how he rescued Mother Sita, and all the beautiful pastimes that Ram performed. Otherwise, killing the demons and protecting the devotees, his energies are always doing that. Sudarshan Chakra can do that just in a flash, killing the demons. What's the big deal? He won't even wait for the order of Ram. So he just comes and performs these beautiful pastimes to attract the neophyte or budding devotees and to give something for his devotees to relish all these pastimes. That's what it is. And the process by which the results of actions are ordained is called niyatam, always working. Guna pravaha etasmin kah shapah ko nava anugraha kah swargo narakah ko va kim sukham dukham eva va. This material world resembles the waves of a constantly flowing river. Therefore, what's a curse and what's a favor? What are the heavenly planets and what are the hellish planets? What is actually happiness and what is actually distress? Because the waves flow constantly, none of them has an eternal effect. So in a wave, everything is flowing, going on. Everything is temporary. So what curse, what favor, everything is temporary in this material. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Miche Maya Ravasha Yacha Bhesha Kacha Habudubu. My dear living entities within this material world, why are you being carried away by the waves of the modes of material nature? Jiva Krishna Das, Hey Vishwas, Karleta Ara Dukhanai. If the living entity tries to understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, there will no longer be misery for him. Krishna wants us to give up all other engagements and surrender unto him. If we do so, where will the cause and effect of this material world be? There is nothing like cause and effect for the surrendered soul. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this regard that being put into this material world is like being thrown into a mine of salt. If one falls into a mine of salt, he stays only salt wherever he goes. Similarly, this material world is full of miseries. The so-called temporary happiness of the world is also misery. But in ignorance, we cannot understand this. That is the actual position. When one comes to his senses, when he becomes Krishna conscious, he is no longer concerned with the various conditions of this material world. He is not concerned with happiness or distress, curses or favors or heavenly or hellish planets. He sees no distinction between them. So why Prabhupada said the so-called temporary happiness of the world is also misery. But in ignorance, we cannot understand this. So very carefully, he has used all the words. Temporary happiness of the world. So whatever happiness we get, first of all, it is temporary. And since it's of the world means material world, it's also very little happiness. Otherwise, it's all source of misery everywhere else. And in whatever happiness we get in this place of misery, what happens is the soul, the living entity, gets attached to it. And since it is temporary, sooner or later it will be taken away. So the more we get attached to happiness, more we get attached to the comforts, when they are taken away, more miserable it is. That is why Prabhupada said, it's also a misery, but in ignorance we cannot understand this. For example, just a crude example. When we were little, growing up, and I'm pretty sure all the middle class families can relate to this, we didn't have air conditioners in our homes. We didn't, that time the situation was so that there was, even the electricity was rare. Every day, even we had the connection, but every day there would be so much of power cuts. But we still lived through it. We still studied. We still slept. We did everything, and we didn't feel anything was lacking. And now, more facilities, air conditioners have to be there. And just imagine for 1 hour, or not even half an hour, no electricity, no AC. How miserable we get. So this is what it is. More we get connected to the comforts and happiness, more we will be miserable when they're gone. And that is why Prabhupada said that in ignorance, we don't understand this. And then we keep on fighting for more and more so-called happiness and assets and the possessions. But in the end, it all gives misery, nothing else. It doesn't let us get detached. It makes us more attached to everything that we have. But if one becomes Krishna conscious, a devotee, he is not concerned with happiness or distress, curses or favors, or heavenly or hellish planets. Because it's all the same for him. It's all sources of misery. All he wants is Krishna or Krishna's service. That's all. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.